Okay, thank you all for joining. Thank you all our Torah Anytime viewers. Tonight we are learning Leilu Nishmas Avram ben Chaim Yehuda and Yecheskel ben Avram. Also learning the four Shalema to Avram Yaakov ben Yael. Okay, so the holiday, the Yom Tov of Purim is coming up. An amazing Yom Tov has a lot of power in it. And what I'm about to tell you, many of you will probably know already or probably have some information on. But trust me, if you stick around, we're going to get to things that very likely no one has heard on before. It's really I came across such a beautiful Torah on this. Some of the things you have to stick with me. I'm going to try to make it as simple and as clear as possible. So I want to start off with something that the Shulchan Aruch says, that regarding Purim, that if someone comes and collects money, ein medakdekin b'mais Purim. You don't go and you don't check when someone comes to collect money on Purim. Ela kol mi sheposhet yadai neisan la. Whoever sticks out the hand, you give it. So let's try to explain this. There's a rule in tzedakah. If someone comes to collect money from you, if someone comes and asks you for tzedakah, so in generally what you're supposed to do throughout the year is, especially if you're giving a significant amount, if you're giving $1, if you're giving whatever, so smaller amount, start wasting time going and investigating. But if you're going and you're giving a significant sum, what you're supposed to be doing is, okay, you're giving a large donation. Where is this money going to? Just like you would go for any investment that you would give you. You won't just give your money to go and get it and invest by someone who you don't know, or someone who's not reputable, someone who maybe will steal it or maybe will invest it not wisely. You go and you investigate. So too, when you go and you give tzedakah, as tzedakah, charity, is an investment, a spiritual investment. So you go and you search and you look into things that is going to make sure that's going to give you the reap the most benefits, let's call it. So throughout the year, what you're supposed to do when someone comes to collect and you're going to give a lot of money, you have to go investigate, see where this money is going to. However, there's an exception to the rule, and that is for Purim. For Purim, whoever sticks out their hand, whoever asks you for tzedakah, you go and you give it. Now, we know that everything that God does, everything that Hashem does, is midah keneged midah. Measure for measure. So just like on Purim, whoever asks of us, we give to them without checking into. So too, measure for measure, when we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us without going and investigating. Just to explain this, usually throughout the year, you go and you pray and you ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu something. You daven. And how does it work? How does HaKadosh Baruch Hu go and decide if he's going to give you or not going to answer you? Depends, on a multitude of factors. But part of the factors is, okay, do you deserve it? How many sins have you done? How many good deeds have you done? Did you have poor kavanah? Did you have good kavanah when you prayed? There's checking that heaven does to make sure that you're worthy of this request that you're asking. But when you're not going to check on the person that's giving you, so to measure for measure, HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Purim doesn't look into you, and hence whatever you ask for on Purim, you can get. And by the way, this is a thought process that I use throughout the year, which you could agree with me or you cannot agree with me, and that is something that is that's a pet peeve of mine. It's a pet peeve of mine. Like, let's say you're going throughout the year, someone's coming, you're sitting in shul, let's say, and someone is coming and they're collecting money. So you give them a $5 bill or whatever it is, right? They have now the credit card machine, you put $5. Then the person looks at what type of credit card you have and what's in your wallet and how you're dressed, and he says, you know what? Can you do 18? Can you do 72? What about make it 180? And they start negotiating you to go up. Now this, maybe it's my own personal thing I need to work on. It bothers me. What do I mean? I'm giving you tzedakah. I'm giving you $5 now that you weren't getting beforehand. Now you're going to push me to go and give you more? I said, it's a chutzpah. How do you say that? However, I usually stop myself from thinking this way. And how do I stop myself from thinking this way? Is I think about when I daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I go and I pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem, I want this. Hashem, I want. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives and gives and gives you so much, gives each and every single one of us so much. And then what do we tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Oh, wait a minute. Can you give me more? Can you give me more? And we ask more of this. So then when this person goes And this person, I'm giving him whatever it is I'm giving him or her. And then they go and they ask for more. So instead of feeling bad, I feel, wait a minute. I want HaKadosh Baruch Hu to act the same way to me as well. I always ask for more and more and more, even though I don't deserve, even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu is already given to me. So I always take this step, throughout the year, be like, okay, listen, especially if you're giving to a worthy cause and they keep on asking for more, be like, okay, how can I say no? Like, I ask also HaKadosh Baruch Hu for so many of us. But that is the thought process that's going on in Purim. And that is that just like when HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when we are going and we're not investigating and giving charity freely, so to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when we ask for something, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives it to us freely. This is a concept that many are aware of. We're going to explain a little bit more on this concept, and then we're going to delve on things that many people are most likely not aware of. So the Chidushei HaRim tells us that Purim is a time of a zman ratzon, meaning it's a good zman that an individual can go and influence HaKadosh Baruch Hu to fulfill your desire, meaning that you could ask for what you want, and we see this in the megillah, in Esther chapter 5, verse 6. Vayomer HaMelech LaEsther b'mishteh hayayin, and the king told Esther in the party in the party of wine, Mashe lasech v'nasan lach, what do you want, and I'll give it to you. Now the Medrash tells us in Esther Rabbah that whenever the Megillah uses the generic term of Melech, this is referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is referring to God. And when it says over here, Masha elasech ve'inasan lach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling Esther, what do you want and I'll give it to you. And this is the request that we can ask for HaKadosh Baruch Hu coming up on Purim. What do you want and I will give it to you. The Rambam writes that the mitzvah of megillah is one of the main mitzvahs of the megillah, reading the megillah, is to let the future generations know that when the Torah promises something, it's true. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu is close to all who call out to Him. Kav Hashem l'chol karav. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is close to anybody that calls out to Him, meaning that there is a power on this day that you cannot waste. The Segulas Yisrael says that on Purim, Rabbi Biederman brings us down that on Purim, it's you should wake up early, you should go and you should daven a lot, and specifically, listen to this, very interesting. Specifically, you should ask for children, you should ask for health, you should ask for parnassah, because this is an ace ratzon for tefillah. And he brings down a story with, there was in Lakewood, there was a group of men that they had, everybody hears this, right? We all go through this, Purim is a time for tefillah, Purim is a time for that, okay, fine. And we go and we daven. But one time there was this group of men, they came together and they were like, look, they all needed a Yeshua, they all needed something serious. And they came together as a group and they said, let's do something this Purim. And they woke up early that Purim and they spent, a long time davening. They said the entire Tehillim. And the story goes on that each of these people, within 2 weeks, had all their tefillahs answered. Whatever it is that they needed, whatever Yeshua they needed, they had some serious things, all of them were answered. This is the power that if we go and if we utilize the power of Purim, the power of tefillah, we could reach, we can not even reach, we can get so many stuff. The Mari Yecheskel says that, usually people daven for what they need. Sometimes people daven for what they want, meaning there's a difference between needs and luxuries. So you need health, you need food, you need certain things, and that you daven for, you have more of a likelihood of getting answered. But when you daven for luxuries, you daven for wealth, you daven for extra things, it isn't certain that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to grant you this prayer of all these luxuries. But on Purim, even if we request the luxuries, even those are answered. And the Mari Yecheskel writes, based off the pasuk in Yeshaya, chapter 65, verse 24. It should be that when they call, when they didn't even call yet, I will answer. But when they're speaking, that's when I will hear. Now explains, that's a translation of the pasuk, but let me explain that. Explains the Mari Yecheskel beautifully. Listen to this. There's two types of prayers that we ask. For our necessities, like we said, and our luxuries. For our necessities, the pasuk says, Vani ene, I will answer. However, if they go and they ask for the luxuries, oid hey medabrim, oid, meaning they're asking for more. So when one prays for oid, vani eshma, HaKadosh Baruch says, I will hear. Meaning Hashem will listen, and Hashem will consider it. Will He grant it? Will He not grant it? That all depends, because it's luxuries. If you ask for something that you need, vani ena, I will answer you. If it's a luxury, then okay, I'm going to listen. Says oid hey medabrim, they're asking for luxuries. Vani eshma, I'm going to listen, maybe I'll answer, maybe I won't answer. But Purim is an exception. Purim, the pasuk says in Esther, chapter 9, verse 12. It says, Ma bakashasech, where Achashverosh is telling, actually the king is telling Esther, Ma bakashasech oid v'se'as. What is the words that I just used? Ma bakashasech, what is your request? Oid. The megillah uses the word oid. Oid, and then v'se'as, and I will do. Meaning that even on Purim, if you ask for oid, if you ask for extra, if you ask for luxuries, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will still go and will still answer you, and that's v'se'as, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will do it. There's a story with Rav Naftali of Rapshas. This is also still from Rabbi Bidamin, that there was once a simple farmer, and this farmer came over to the Rebbe. And he said, give me a bracha, a birchas hedyot. Now, what's a birchas hedyot? Birchas hedyot is a blessing of a simple person. Now, the Hasidim were standing around and be like, wait a minute, did this farmer just go up to this big rabbi and says, give me a bracha of a simple person? This is a huge rabbi. This is a birchas tzaddik. This is a bracha coming from a tzaddik, not a birchas hedyot coming from a simple person. And they started laughing at this farmer and be like, do you know who you came to? You came to one of the gadolim. You're the greatest people in the generation. You're coming and you're asking for a blessing from this is not a simple person. So they started smirking. They started laughing. And the Rebbe looks at them and says, why are you laughing? He says, you would think where this would go, be like, okay, the Rebbe is very humble, but the Rebbe went on a different angle. He said, you know what this person is asking? This person is asking for a bracha of a hedyot, meaning there's two types of people that come up to the Rebbe. There's a birchas tzaddik who says, Rebbe, please go and pray for me, give me a bracha, that I will be successful spiritually, that I'll have kavanah, that I'll grow in Yiddishkeit, and I'll grow in my avodas Hashem, and I'll grow in my work on spiritual growth. That's what a tzaddik comes and asks for. But then you have a simple person, a birchas hedyot. What does he ask for? He comes and he says, please, Rebbe, can you bless me that I'll have parnassah, that I'll have children. You ask for things that are more of a simple person, more in the physical world as opposed to more in the spiritual world. So the Rebbe goes over to the Hasidim and says, you want to know what this person is asking? What he's asking me for, he's asking me for blessings in the physical world. He's asking me for parnassah. He's asking me for anything in the physical world and not in the spiritual world. And that's not something to laugh. That's a serious request, and that is what this is what the birchas of a hedyot is. And the Satmar Rebbe would say over the story on Purim, and he says that on Purim the person should ask what you truly desire. Don't be untruthful to yourself, right? Ask. You want a wealth, you want the big house, whatever it is that you want, ask. That's what you should ask for. Of course, you should ask for spirituality as well, but ask for anything. And this, the Imrei Naim says, it's not only just on Purim. The Torah tells us it's Yemei Purim. There's 2 days of Purim. There's Shushan Purim. The Torah says that you could accomplish more even on Shushan Purim than actual Purim itself. But really, the truth of the matter is you really have 3 days of davening. You have taanis Esther, you have Purim, and you have Shushan Purim. The Kav HaYashar says on taanis Esther is a very, very big day for tefillah. Whoever needs a tefillah, whoever needs a salvation on taanis Esther, you should go and say kapitel Chav Beis, chapter 22, Ayelas HaShachar, something that Esther said when she went into Achashverosh. This is a very, very powerful kapitel Tehillim, a chapter of Tehillim that you should say, chapter 22 on taanis Esther, on Purim also. And after this, you say this kapitel, then you go and you ask Kadosh Baruch Hu, you ask God for whatever it is that you want. Kav HaYashar also brings down that a person should go on taanis Esther and daven that they should have a successful Purim, meaning they should celebrate it in the correct way. The Purim, it gets very tricky. It's sneeze and drinking and this and that. There's so many different things. You have to have a lot of siyat d'shmaya that you do everything, according to the derech of the Torah, according to the right way. And this is the power that you have on Purim. There was a person that was sitting on the, waiting for the train, and there was another person that was, looked a little bit, iffy, and within a minute or two, he sees that this iffy person fell into the tracks. Now everybody was panicking. A train was coming, and everybody was rushing. They were like, okay, what's going to be like? Shall we jump in? There's one guy, one very, very simple guy. He was going over there, and he saw this person. He jumped into the tracks, grabbed this person, threw this person on the platform, and then just made it back in time, just in the nick of time. And everybody came in to congratulate this person. You're a hero. You saved this person's life. And this person says, he says, I don't know how much a hero I am. You want to know why I did it? Says, if a train would have ran over this person and killed him, he says, you want to know what the delay is going to be on my day? You know how much difficult my day is going to be? I'm going to be delayed for hours until the train. So I did it really for selfish reasons. I picked him up, I threw him over there just for selfish reasons. I didn't want to be late to work. So this is what's happening on such a powerful day of Purim. We go and we do different things. We make mishloach manas and we go and we give tzedakah. And sometimes, you give a mishloach manas, explains Rabbi Binyamin, and what are you waiting for? You're waiting for the person to be like, oh, wow, what a beautiful mishloach manas. It matches your theme and it's so perfect and the way that you dressed and everybody. It goes, like, that's not what the purpose is. The purpose is, this is what it's a big mitzvah to do mishloach manas. It gives achlas, it gives unity. There's a lot of simcha and happiness that comes out from these things on Purim. It says these are mitzvahs that you're doing. You're not doing it for like, oh wow, it's a beautiful mishloach manas. It matches your theme so well. We do things sometimes for the wrong reasons. And this is also related to how we pray on Purim. We could ask for so much on Purim. You go and reach for the stars. Don't settle for a mere, like a delay in the train. Go and reach for the stars. There was a wealthy couple that didn't have any children, and the husband tells the wife, go to Rav Meir and ask him for a bracha, and tell the Rebbe, he's a wealthy man, says, tell the Rebbe that I'm willing to go and give up all my wealth just so that I should have children. So the woman said fine, the wife said fine. She goes over to the Rebbe, and she's very nervous. She's sitting in front of the big Rebbe, and she says, she stumbled on her words. Instead of saying that my husband said that he's willing to give up all his wealth just to have children, she said my husband is willing to keep all his wealth and to have children. And the Rebbe listened to what she says, and he understood that what she was trying to say, and he started smiling, he started laughing, and he went and he said, you said it by mistake, but the truth of the matter is, he says, you are accurate. He says, God doesn't need to give, you have to give all your money away and then he'll give you something. God could let you keep your money and he could give you children. And he said, I'm going to give you a bracha that you're going to keep your money and you have children. And guess what? That's what happened. They kept the money and they were also had a child. You want to know why? Because we don't need to settle when we're going and we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Reach for the stars. You could ask for anything that you wanted, and that is the power of Purim. That is the power that you have. You could ask for whatever it is that you wanted. So that is an introduction of what I wanted really to come and to speak about. So the understanding is a famous understanding. The concept, everybody knows, you have a tremendous power on Purim. If you don't know it, so it was worth it, just to hear that. Purim has one of the strongest days of the year for tefillah, for prayer. But I want to share with you something from the Shvilei Pinchas that takes this power and 10 times it, 10x's it, and also brings us power throughout the entire year that you're able to go and capitalize on this power of tefillah and how this happened. So this says the Shvilei Pinchas, or Pinchas Friedman. Why is it on Purim that all this is going down? Right? Like, Purim is a very busy holiday, right? There's a lot to do. There's one day. Like, imagine it would have been on Hanukkah. We have 8 days of it. And of course, Hanukkah, you have also time to daven, also in front of the neighbors. You have all these times that are opportune. But there's nothing that compares to the level of Purim. Purim is, Yom Kippurim is a day like Purim, right? There's so much to speak just on the aspect of Purim and Yom Kippur. But it just shows you the level of where Purim stands, of vis-a-vis all the other holidays. So what's so special about Purim? So the Medrash in Esther Rabbah compares Mordechai Tzaddik from the story of Purim to Moshe Rabbeinu, and it compares them in 3 different ways. I'm going to tell you these 3 different ways. We're going to go and explain it in depth, and then we're going to connect it, and then we're going to see how it relates to our tefillah and how it relates to our power in tefillah on Purim and throughout the year as well. So the 3 things that the Medrash speaks about on Purim, on Mordechai, on the comparison between Mordechai and Moshe Rabbeinu, is number 1, that Mordechai was humble like Moshe Rabbeinu. The megillah speaks about Mordechai as Ish Yehudi. Ish Yehudi. When the Torah says the word Ish, there's another place where the Torah also mentions the word Ish, and that is by Moshe Rabbeinu. Va'ish Moshe Anav Ma'id. It's referring to the humility of Moshe Rabbeinu. This describes us, explain the Medrash, that the Ish Yehudi, Mordechai, was also humble like Moshe Rabbeinu was humble. So the first comparison between Mordechai and Moshe Rabbeinu is the humility. Second comparison is that Moshe Rabbeinu saved Klal Yisrael. We know that by the sin of the Chet HaEgel, Moshe Rabbeinu came down and saved the Jewish nation because the Baruch Hu wanted to destroy the entire Klal Yisrael and start over again with Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu prayed, and Moshe Rabbeinu saved Klal Yisrael. And we also know that in the days of Mordechai, Mordechai also saved Klal Yisrael from annihilation from Haman and Achash Verosh. That's the second comparison. The third comparison is that Moshe taught Torah to Klal Yisrael, and also Mordechai taught Torah to Klal Yisrael. We know the Gemara in Shabbos, page 88a, tells us that when the Jewish people accepted the Torah on Har Sinai, it says that the Kafalem Har Kigigis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu put the mountain on top of them, and he basically forced them. He says, if you don't accept the Torah, this is going to be your burial spot. So they accepted the Torah, they took the Torah, but they took it under duress, they took it up by force, they didn't take it because they wanted to. However, in the time of Mordechai and Esther, Kimu v'kiblu, the Gemara tells us, that they went and they reaccepted the Torah, but this time out of love. So the first time when they accepted the Torah was out of fear. They were forced to. But the second time, when it comes with Mordechai, in the time of the days of Haman and Achashverosh, then they went and they accepted it willingly out of love. So these are the three things that the Medrash compares Moshe Rabbeinu to Mordechai. So now let's go and break this down. Let's start off with the first one, which is humility. Why is this so important? How does this relate to everything that we're about to speak about? Explains the Me'arei Ar, that somebody who is arrogant, right? Arrogant is the opposite of humility. Someone who is arrogant damages the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the name Ka, Yud, Hey. It damages that name, right? Every sin that we do has throughout what we started to before the past few classes, we started going through the Kav HaYashar, we started speaking about different Kabbalistic concepts. So one of the concepts is that we have their names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and there can be a pgam, you could put a damage to the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, this doesn't affect God in a way that, like it weakens God, chas v'shalom, but you put something, you damage the name, meaning that's what you have to make a tikkun. So when someone's arrogant, which name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu does it damage, does it affect? And that is the name Yud Hey Ka. And the Yud, it's interesting, the letters Yud K it's 50. The numerical value is 15. Yud is 10, and Hey is 5. Has the same numerical value as Gaiva, arrogance. Meaning that if you have arrogance, you are going to go and damage the name Yud and Ka. And regarding the war with Amalek, which is Purim, right? Haman is Amalek. The pasuk in Shemais, chapter 17, verse 16 says, "V'yamer ki yod al keis Ka milchama l'Hashem ba'Amalek midar dar." That the words that it's used over here regarding the war with Amalek, which name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Ka, Yud and Hey. Says the Zera Kodesh that the klipa of Amalek, what the Amalek gets a power from, that's arrogance, that's gaiva, and that's why the name Amalek, Ayin Mem Lamed Kuf, the numerical value for that is 240, the same numerical value as Rum. Rum is like to raise, to a sense of superiority, to go up. That's what Amalek is, that arrogance, that gaiva. So the pasuk, Ki Yad al Keis Ka Milchama Hashem. How do you battle Amalek? How do you destroy Amalek? How do you destroy Haman? That is with the name Yud Hey. That is with the name Ka, because that represents humility. So this is very interesting, why Mordechai is described as Ish Yehudi. Ish Yehudi. What's the word Yehudi? Yehudi, so listen to this, so beautiful. Some of these things, by the way, that we're going to speak about, you have to stick with me a little bit, but most of the things you're going to be able to smooth by. It's going to be, I'm trying to make it very, very clear. Ish Yehudi, listen to this, so beautiful. Yehudi is Yud, Hey, Vav, Daled, Yud. That's how it's spelled, Yehudi. Yehudi generally means a Jew. But when you break it up, when you look at any letter like a Yud, for example, it's spelled Yud with just a Yud, or you spell out what it's called the full spelling of a letter. So what's a full spelling of a letter? The Yud would be Yud Vav Dalet, meaning that's how you pronounce it, that's how you would spell it out. Hey would be Hey Yud, right? That's how you would spell, how you pronounce it, and that's how you spell it out. So there is the letters, and then there's the spelling out the full name of the letter. So when you take the name Yud and Hey, which is what Amalek was fighting against, this is the gaiva, this is the humility, this is how he battled Amalek, and you spell it out, it's Yud Vav Dalet, and then Hey Yud. You scramble the letters, that is Yehudi. That is the same letters as Yehudi. Mordechai is Ish Yehudi. You don't know what Mordechai represented? Mordechai represented that humility. He had that power of the Yud and the Hey, the Ka, that would be able to go, Ki Yud al Kes Ka Milcham al Hashem Ba'amalek. He would be able to go and fight Amalek with the what? With the humility. That's the Yud and the Hey. And he was able to go, and this is in the spiritual battle of Amalek. So how did Mordechai beat Amalek? This is through humility. And let's take this a step further. The Gemara in Chulin, page 139, tells us, where do we see Mordechai in the Torah? Mordechai min Torah 9. Where do we see Mordechai in the Torah? So the Gemara tells us in Shemais chapter 30, verse 23. We know it says, "Va'ata kach lecha b'samim roish mar drar." Mar drar, that is referring to what? To Mordechai. It's not coincidental, and nothing is coincidental. What is the words that the pasuk uses to explain Mordechai? Mar drar. What's mar? Mem reish. Mem reish is the backwards of rum. Rum, as we said, is 240. 240 is the numerical value of Amalek. What is rum? Rum is superiority. Let's go back. Mordechai, it's the flipped mar. It's the humility aspect of it. The same numerical value. That is the power that Mordechai has. The power to go and fight Amalek. How is he going to go and fight Haman? How is he going to go and fight Amalek? That he's going to go and use the humility that he has, and that he's going to be able to subdue the power of Amalek. So this is the power of humility. The power of humility is that it can destroy Amalek. Now let's take it up to the next. That was number one, humility. We're going to soon plug it all in. Stay with me. The pasuk and the next thing that we said is the Torah. So what's that Moshe taught Torah to Klal Yisrael and Mordechai also taught Torah to Klal Yisrael. Why did Klal Yisrael accept the Torah out of love after Purim? What was so special? Like what changed? Right? Like we had so many holidays, but Purim is now, before when we got the Torah, okay, fine, we got it out of fear, we had to have like this mountain over us that forced us to take it. What changed with like Purim versus all the holidays that this is the one that we accepted out of love? So the Gemara in Taanis tells us, the Gemara in Taanis, page 7a, tells us that the words of Torah is compared to water. Why is Torah compared to water? How does water work? So water is one of the four basic elements. Any of the other elements, they always face upwards, right? Air always rises. Fire, you light a match, whichever way you point the stick, it's always going to go up. Dirt, the earth, that's the other of the four basic elements. You pour it down. What earth is going to do is going to just pile up to try to reach a higher level. Meaning, if you take a cup of earth, of dirt, and you pour it, it's going to start pouring. It's going to flatten out. It's going to get itself a base, and then it's going to end up becoming like a pyramid going up. What happens if you take water? If you take water and you start pouring water down, it's not going to build itself up. Water always naturally goes to the lowest place, meaning it's a liquid. It's going to go, it's going to find the lowest place of elevation, and that's what's going to stay. Water represents humility. Water, that's what water represents. Water, where did God hover? Above the water. Water is the humility, and God connects to people that are humble. That's what God connects to. So what happened over here? Water is compared to Torah. Why? Because if you want to accept Torah, if you want to know Torah, if you want to be, then you have to have the humility. You have to have the humility. That's the prerequisite to understanding Torah. And over here, Mordechai subdued. He was able to get that klipa, that shell of gaiva, of arrogance, that Haman and Achashverosh, the descendants of Amalek. This is what they have. He was able to go and just destroy it. How? Through his humility. But now it wasn't just his humility. He was able to go now and influence the entire Jewish nation also on this aspect of humility. So now what happens when the entire Klal Yisrael had this aspect of humility, now especially after Haman, they have this humility, now they have the power to go and accept the Torah, because now they're able to accept that out of love, because that is what the prerequisite of Torah is. You need that anivas, you need that humility, and this is why the pasuk in Esther chapter 9 verse 27 tells us kimu v'kiblu. They went, and the Gemara in Shabbos page 88 tells us kimu masha kiblu kvar. Here now they were able to accept what they already got before, because they had that humility. They had that ability to go and accept it, what they weren't able to do that before. And the Chidah says something very, very amazing. The Chidah says that the numerical value, the gematria of Ish Yehudi is 346, which is equal to Moshe with the kolol. Moshe is 345 with the kolol, which anybody knows how the gematria works. You're able to utilize the kolol. The kolol is the addition of one for the word, and that is also 346. That Ish Yehudi, what's represented by Mordechai, has the same nitzas, has the same spark of a soul as Moshe Rabbeinu, and this is the connection between Moshe Rabbeinu and Mordechai. When Moshe Rabbeinu gave the Torah to Klal Yisrael, there was something that was lacking, and that's where it all came to a complete circle, to a complete fix, when we came back in a nitzas of Mordechai, when he was able to go and give the Torah, in a way that it was accepted out of love and out of the desire, not out of anything, out of force. So now let's go to the final thing. So that is Torah. So we spoke about Torah, we spoke about humility. Let's see how Moshe saves Klal Yisrael. I'm going to give you a little introduction of this, then we're going to go into depth, and then we're going to connect everything together. So Moshe Rabbeinu saves Klal Yisrael. We know that he saved that, and Mordechai saves Klal Yisrael on Purim. When Moshe saved Klal Yisrael, how did that work? Where was Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu, at the time that the Jewish people served the golden calf, Moshe Rabbeinu was in heaven. He was in heaven, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu goes over to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he says, "Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe, lech yired ki shiches amcha." Go down, because your nation has acted corruptly. Moshe Rabbeinu was in heaven. Hashem sent him down. Why did Hashem send him down? So in the pasuk of Atanichali, now you have to leave me alone. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling Moshe Rabbeinu. Rashi says that Moshe Rabbeinu, God was giving Moshe Rabbeinu an opening. God sent Moshe Rabbeinu down to this, he sent him down to this world, and then he gave him an opening and saying, "Listen, I want to destroy the Jewish nation, but if you daven, if you pray, I will be able to go and will be able to save them." So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God gave him kind of an opening, and basically saying that it depends on you. If you pray, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will not destroy them. So let's see how and why this is connected with humility. So here, bear with me just a little bit, because this is amazing if you get it, and you will get it if you listen, because we're going to do it with Hashem's help very clearly. The Gemara in Moed Katan, page 16b, describes David HaMelech's humility. What was David HaMelech's humility? So when David's teacher passed away, David began teaching Torah to Klal Yisrael. However, he did not sit on a mattress or on cushion when he taught. He sat on the floor. And the rabbis told him, says, David, King David, go sit on a chair, sit on a mattress, sit on that. And David HaMelech said, no. He refused. He's going to sit on the ground like he sat before, and he's going to teach in this matter. So what did God say? God told David HaMelech, since you lowered yourself, now you're going to be like me. If I decree a punishment, you can annul it. That is the power that now HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God gave David HaMelech. This is measure for measure. When a tzaddik lowers himself and humbles himself, this causes HaKadosh Baruch Hu to do the same. And this is what we see in the pasuk at Tehillim, chapter 121, verse 5. Hashem Shemacha, Hashem Tzilcha al Yad Yeminecha. What is Hashem Tzilcha? Hashem Tzilcha means Hashem is like your shadow. Everything goes measure for measure. The way that you treat other people, that's the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to treat you, vice, and so on and so forth. That God mirrors your behavior. And Hashem gave David HaMelech the power. It says, you lowered yourself, now I'm going to lower myself. And you have the power to annul my decree. And we see that this actually happened. Listen to this, the Zohar HaKadosh in Re'eh Mehemna and Parshas Pinchas tells us that in Tehillim, in chapter 132, verse 9, the David HaMelech requests from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Koyanecha yilbeshu tzedek v'chasidecha yiranenu. The translation is, let your Kohanim be clothed in righteousness, and your Hasidim to sing joyously. Asks the Zohar. Listen to this question. Wait a minute. It says over here, the Hasidim are going to sing your praises. It's not the Hasidim that sing your praises. It's the Leviim. The Leviim are the ones that sing the songs. What does it mean when they sing the song? The Zohar says what this means when it says that when they sing their songs, it means that they go and they appease the forces of judgment, the forces of din. So who has the power to appease, to nullify, to go and change the forces of din? That is the Leviim, not the Hasidim. So what's going on over here? So Zohar answers that David HaMelech is asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'chasidecha yiranenu, let your Chasidim, not only for the Leviim, give the power also to the Chasidim, that they should be able to sing joyously your praises, and they'll be able to mitigate, to go and change the forces of din, of judgment, with their praises. And the Zohar goes on, and he says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed to David HaMelech's request. And the Zohar says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu God tells David, King David, it's not my way to change my behavior. Yet, and listen to the language that the Zohar uses, because you invited me, I have to do what you wish. And it goes on the Zohar, and I'm going to just talk to you in English. From here we see that when a master of a house invites even the king has to act in accordance of the master of the host as well. And this is based off of Gemara and Psachim, page 86b, that whatever the master of the house, whatever the Baal Bayis tells you, you should do except for leave. So this is a huge chiddush, explains Rav Pinchas Friedman. Explains the Shvilei Pinchas. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and listen how we could utilize this. Woo-hoo-hoo. This is huge secrets we're revealing today. HaKadosh Baruch Hu fulfilled David HaMelech's request. Why? Because David invited HaKadosh Baruch Hu to come to him. And God behaved like a guest. And David HaMelech was the host. And the Gemara says that you have to listen to whatever the host tells you to do. Where do we see that David HaMelech invited God to be like a guest to him? So we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu descends and rests his Shechina upon those who are humble. We see this in Yeshayahu, in Isaiah chapter 15, verse 57. Ve'ezdaka ushfal ruach. That the Gemara and Saita utilizes this. It says Ve'ezdaka ushfal ruach. That the translation means I am with. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells her, I am together with the lowly, the despondent and the lowly spirit. What does that mean? That the Shechina dwells with that person. And we see this, that like you would think, okay, wait a minute, maybe the Shechina, maybe if someone is very humble, very low, HaKadosh Baruch Hu raises this person up as opposed to him coming down. So we see this by Har Sinai. Har Sinai was a very low mountain. It doesn't say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made Har Sinai a huge mountain and he raised them up. It says that the Shechina rested on the mountain on Har Sinai. God came down to the lowly person, meaning that there's two ways to connect someone, right? Either person A goes to person B or person B goes to person A. So you think that if you're person B and HaKadosh Baruch Hu's person A, if you're humble, okay, the logical thing would be like, okay, so I'm alone. Let me go up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not going to come to me. But the Torah says no. It says if you're humble, HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu went to Har Sinai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu lowered himself to Har Sinai. Why doesn't ask the Shvilei Pinchas? Why doesn't God raise the person up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Based off a pasuk in Tehillim, chapter 115, verse 16, it says, "Hashemayim shemayim laHashem v'ha'aretz nasan livnei Adam." The heavens, those belong to God, but the land, that belongs to a person. And listen to this, oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, stay with me. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu raises a humble person up, then what happens? This humble person is a guest in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's terrain. It's in heaven. So now if a person goes and asks something, okay, it's up to the host. The host is God. But what happens if HaKadosh Baruch Hu goes down to earth? If you're Shemayim Lashem v'Aretz nasan livnei Adam, the Aretz is to the people. We have the land, and if we bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu down, who's the host? If we're the host and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the guest, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to listen to whatever the host has to say. He has to fulfill the wishes of the host. And how David HaMelech, through his extreme humility, he sat on the ground teaching Torah. So what happened? He was so humble, and we know this. We see it. David HaMelech says in Tehillim, chapter 7, verse 22, I'm like a worm. He was a humble person, very, very humble person. So what happened? That says the Zohar HaKadosh, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu LeDavid. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told David, Ein drachai l'shanas midasai. It's not my way to change my behavior. Ela achas shezmanta oisi, after you went and you invited me, yeshli la'asis retzanecha, I have to do your will. You invited me, you brought me down over here. Because the Gemara says that whatever the host tells you to do, you have to do. Whatever the Baal Habayis tells you to do. So this is why, says the Zohar HaKadosh, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu went and fulfilled everything of that David requested. Because David had that power, because he brought HaKadosh Baruch Hu down. How did he bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu down? Through his anivas, through his humility. Now, we can continue this line of reasoning. Explains the Shvilei Pinchas that what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell Moshe Rabbeinu? Go down. Why did he say go down? Go down to this earth? Because Moshe was in Shemayim. He was getting the Torah. He was sitting in Shemayim. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu told you, wait a minute, if you're up here, if you're in Shemayim, then I am the host and you're the guest. I don't have to listen to you. But if you're down there, Moshe was the humility. He could bring the Shekhinah down. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe, Lech Reid, go down to your humility. If you go down to your humility, then I'm going to have to listen to you. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent them from Shemayim to the world, and he says, now you daven. You daven here from this humility, that's when I'm going to go and I'm going to be able to answer you. There's a beautiful medrash. Listen to this, a medrash Tanchuma in Parshas Nasai, that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, he wanted to go and dwell amongst the inhabitants of the world. But what happened? Adam Arishan went and he did a sin with the Eitz Hadas. He ate. He violated. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu removed the Shekhinah from the world, right? And we said that, in previous classes, that there are 7 heavens. There are 7 Rakiyas. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu removed himself from this world and moved himself to the first Rakiyah, to the first heaven. And then when Cain killed Hevel, HaKadosh Baruch Hu went from the first heaven and he moved them even further to the second heaven. And then the generation of Enosh, he moved from the second heaven to the third heaven, from the generation of the Mabel, from the third to the fourth, from the generation of the Dara Flaga, from the dispersion, he moved from fourth to the fifth, from the people of Sodom, he moved from the fifth to the sixth, and from the Amraphel, the Rashi says it's Nimrod, it moved from the sixth to the seventh, to the highest level, to the highest Rakiyah. Fast forward a few generations, what happened to when Avram Avinu came? When Avram Avinu came, he was able to take bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu down from the seventh level of seventh heaven to the sixth heaven. Yitzchak went and brought the Shekhinah down from the sixth to the fifth. Yaakov brought him down to the fourth. Levi brought him down to the fourth. Kehas, which was Levi's son, brought him down to the second. Amram, which was Moshe's father, brought him down to the first. And Moshe Rabbeinu brought him down to the earth, as it says in Shemot chapter 19, verse 20. The Yirid Hashem al Har Sinai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu came down to Har Sinai, meaning that HaKadosh Baruch Hu went all the way up to the seventh Rakiyah, and then throughout the generations went all the way down to go back to earth. And an inhabitant with the purpose of the whole world, the purpose of creation was to bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu down to the world. How did he accomplish this? Says the Shvilei Pinchas, he accomplished this through humility, through the anivas. That, because it says in Bamidbar, and we quoted this pasuk, chapter 12, verse 3, Va'aish Moshe anav ma'id. The power of Moshe Rabbeinu was his humility. And this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu. How did Moshe Rabbeinu save the Jewish people? Moshe Rabbeinu was in heaven. Wouldn't it have made more sense? Okay, this Baruch Hu, we're dealing, we're sitting face to face. I'm in heaven over here. What better place it is to pray? But Baruch Hu says, no, go down, and that's where you're going to daven for Klal Yisrael. That's where Moshe Rabbeinu, because of his humility, was able to bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu down. Moshe Rabbeinu was so to speak the host, and Moshe Rabbeinu was able to have his tefillahs, his prayers answered. So, this, we can begin to understand and how the Anshe Knesset Agdola describe Mordechai as an Ish Yehudi. An Ish Yehudi, just like Moshe Rabbeinu was a Ish Moshe Anav Ma'id, so too Mordechai was a Ish. He was also someone who was a very, very humble person. And because of his humility, he was able to go and have his tefillahs, have his prayers answered. Just like he was able to have his prayers answered, he was able to go and save Klal Yisrael from annihilation, just like Moshe Rabbeinu was able to save Klal Yisrael from annihilation. And not only that, Moshe Rabbeinu taught Klal Yisrael Torah, but Mordechai was able to go and bring it down that it was a level of kimu v'kiblu. They were able to accept it. Why? Because it had that humility that not only was just a Mordechai, but it was the entire Klal Yisrael through this episode had that humility, and they were able to now go and accept the Torah. Now we can begin to understand. It says Pinchas how we started off. The medakdekin b'mais that comes Purim. We don't investigate. Someone asks, whoever someone goes and asks for money, we go and we give them whatever they want. It says, explains the Chidush Arim. This is the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu treats us on Purim. This is the way that whatever we ask, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives. Whatever somebody else asks, we give. Mordechai was able to go and annul the decree in the merit how he brought the Shekhinah down to this world in the merit of in the power of humility, and he had the ability to go whatever the host tells you to do, you have to do. And not only that, we also know through the merit of Torah study, of learning Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu goes on, and the Shekhinah goes down on someone who goes and studies Torah. On every Purim, the Yidden accepted the Torah out of love. So what happens over here is on Purim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu acts towards Klal Yisrael like a guest. And we're the host. We have the ability to go and ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu anything, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to go, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to go and answer. Do we begin to understand how powerful this day is? But not only this day, we have to take this mindset, and we could take it out throughout the entire year. If you have that power of anibus, if you work on your humility, and this is why it's so important, the aspect of humility, especially in tefillah, you have the power of bringing down HaKadosh Baruch Hu into this world and having all your tefillahs answered, all your prayers answered. As explains the Imrei Noam, that Hashem made Purim an Eis Ratzon. This is measure for measure, just like the Jewish people accepted the Torah, re-accepted the Torah, that is, on Purim with ratzon, willingness, and voluntarily. That's why, just like the Torah, the megillah tells us, la'asis kirtzoin ish ve'ish. Just like he does, like whatever a man wants, so too HaKadosh Baruch Hu will fulfill the desire of each and every single person. That is a power. That is the power of this day. The power as of this day is if you daven, but if you really daven, you daven with humility, you have the power of getting all your tefillahs answered. The Baal Shem Tov, and listen to, because the day is so powerful, there's caveats that get thrown out in here. Says the Baal Shem Tov. There's a story that happened during the time of the Baal Shem Tov. There was once a drought. And everybody davened that there should be rain, and everybody davened but nothing was going. So they went over to the Baal Shem Tov. I might be able to the story. They went over to the Baal Shem Tov, and they asked him, daven that we should have rain. So the Baal Shem Tov says, I don't know what to tell you. He says, it's not in my hands. But if you find there's a certain guy in a certain town, a town drunk, if you get him to daven when he's not drunk, that person has the power to annul the decree. So the students went, okay, it is what it is, we have to go. They traveled to a certain town. They found this drunk. The problem is that this guy was drunk 24/7. It was so hard to find him sober. And he says that the second that they went up to him in the morning already, he started drinking. They decided to spend the night, and the second that he woke up, he was about to grab the bottle, and the students of the Baal Shem Tov says, wait, stop, go and please and daven that this drought should end. So the drunk says, me? You want me to pray? You guys are righteous people. You guys are students of the Baal Shem Tov. You should pray. What am I going to pray? They said, what can we tell you? The Baal Shem Tov said that we should search you out, and you're the one who has the power to do it. So he said, okay, fine. If this is what the Baal Shem Tov says. So he goes and he davens, and as soon as he finishes davening, the heavens open up and it starts raining. The students go over to the Baal Shem Tov and says, what's going on over here? You have over here this town drunk, this guy who doesn't, like he's blitzed out of his mind every day of the year. He has the power to annul decrees that nobody else has. So the Baal Shem Tov says that one day, this person took a lot of money, and he was on his way to do a very big sin, a very big avera. And as he was traveling to do this avera, he encountered a family in a pit. And he looks, he says, the kids were crying and screaming, help us, help us. So he goes over and says, what's going on over here? So the parents and the children, everyone's crying. This is what was, we couldn't pay our rent. And we kept on pushing it. Our landlord got so fed up with us, he threw us in this pit just so that so we should die. So the guy asked, how much money do you need to like get out and like get back on your feet? And they gave the exact number they needed, and this was the exact number that this person had that he was about to go do the sin with. So he thinks for a second, and he says, okay, he takes him out of the pit, he gives him all his money that he has. He says, I want you to take this money and go save yourself. And Kachava, they went and they saved themselves. Now in Shemayim, in heaven, they were like, okay, what are we going to do? This guy did a huge thing. He was about to do a big sin. He took all that money and he saved the family. He's got to get rewarded. Like, what are we going to do? Says, but the guy is obviously not the top-notch type of a person. He was obviously on the way to do a very big sin. So they decided the power that they're going to give him is that whatever he prays for is going to be answered. But there's going to be a caveat because he's not, a righteous person. So he got a temptation of always getting drunk. He was always drunk. And that's why he couldn't ever pray, because he was always drunk. And that's why the Baal Shem Tov said, if you get him when he's not drunk and pray, that's when the prayer is going to get answered. It explains the Chidush Arim. He said that the Torah, the Chacham gave us a mitzvah to drink on Purim. But we also have to know that there is a special koyach of tefillah on Purim. There is a very, very strong power of prayer on Purim. However, there's caveats and there's tests that come along. So we have to drink. Why? Because not everybody is worthy of the level of prayer, that the power of prayer that we have. Not saying that everybody is supposed to drink. It's a halachah that you're supposed to go and you're supposed to drink. However, it's halachah to get atalayada, but you have to go and you have to realize the power of tefillah, Purim, that there was a caveat that was placed inside over here, and we have to realize that yes, even though if we do go and we do drink and we do partake in whatever the extracurricular activities that happen on that day, again according to halacha only, then we do that. We have to realize that at least beforehand we have to go and capitalize on the opportunity that we have for tefillah. The power of tefillah on this day is like none other. And this is why something very interesting. The pasuk in Esther, chapter 6, verse 13, that the pasuk, the background of it is Zeresh, Haman's wife, tells Haman that once you start falling in front of Mordechai, you're done. But that's the way that it sounds, right? So the pasuk goes on and says, Im mizera Yehudim Mordechai if you start falling in front of Mordechai, then you're going to continue falling of it. Now we have to look at this pasuk. What is Zeresh saying? Zeresh saying that like she's telling Haman there's no hope, like you're going to fall in front of Mordechai, like it's done. The Malbim would say no. She was giving him a tactic. She was giving him a device. She told Haman, Nuffle people in front of. Make yourself humble, says the Malbim. Bring yourself down. Humble yourself in front of Mordechai. So what's going to happen? If you're going to humble yourself in front of Mordechai, so Mordechai is going to think, okay, fine, we're saved. There's hope. And if there's hope and we're saved, Mordechai is going to stop davening. And if he's going to stop davening, that's when you're going to get them. So Zeresh, the wife of Haman, was trying to convince Haman to try to manipulate Mordechai to stop davening. And if you stop davening, that's when you're gonna get Mordechai. But it didn't fall. We know that even after Mordechai was carried and paraded, and the king's horse and the king's robes and the king's crown, it says Vayashav Mordechai al Shar Melech, and Rashi says Vayashav Mordechai l'Saka v'L'Sanisai. Right after Mordechai wrote, you would think Mordechai just got the highest level of you think, okay, fine, we're good, we don't have, we're taken care of. I'm in with the king. I saved the king's life. The king gave me a reward over here. I'm going to be able to go and save the Jews. No. Mordechai did not say, okay, the story is over. He says, no. The story is not over yet. He went back. He put on his yisak. He put on the ephod, and he went back to go and pray and fast. And that's what Mordechai went back. It explains the Avnei Nezer also. He says sometimes some person, the Avnei Nezer says it about himself, that he was one time sick. And he started feeling a little better. So he said, okay, maybe I should stop praying. He says, but that's the Yetzer Hara. That's the evil inclination. That he causes sometimes to feel a little better so that they will stop praying and stop davening, and then they won't be able to get completely better. And so this is the Mordechai Tzaddik says Avnei and Ezra didn't make this mistake. He continued davening, meaning that no matter what happens, you didn't get answered. You used so many Purims and you davened and you davened and you didn't get answered. Guess what? You daven again. You never ever stop davening. There's a tremendous power of tefillah on this day. And I want to end off with one thought. A thought that I read from Rabbi Sachar Friend. I think is a very, very powerful thought, especially in relation to prayer, in relation to tefillah, and in relation to kind of giving up on tefillah. So we know, just to give a little background, that Vashti refused to go and appear in front of her drunk husband and all the people of the world, and her husband Achashverosh got really insulted, got really hurt, and he decided that he's going to kill Vashti. And when Achashverosh woke up from his drunken stupor, he went and he decided that he needed a new wife. So he decided he's going to hold a beauty contest, and who gets chosen? None other than Esther Hamalka. Esther gets chosen. But everything was working well with Esther except for one thing. She didn't want to reveal where she came from. He says, this drove Achashverosh crazy. Like, what's going on? Like, why does she? So he went and he made this huge banquet in honor of Esther and also declared a tax holiday. He was trying to manipulate. Again, if you want to go in more details, you can listen to our shir that we gave on the secrets on the story, the hidden story of Purim. But he tried to go and figure out a way to manipulate, to go and get Esther, tell her, like, where you're from, like, where, like give me the deets, like, who are you? And it didn't work. His plan didn't work. And then what happened is that Mordechai advised them, gather around all the girls again and make another beauty pageant, make another thing to see, basically show Esther, like, okay, wait a minute, maybe I'm thinking about replacing you. I'm not so happy with you. And this way, says Mordechai, Esther's going to get jealous, and then she's going to tell you everything that you want to do. And meaning that Mordechai gave Achashverosh the tip on how to get the information out of Esther, meaning, and meanwhile, that Mordechai doesn't want Esther to tell, Achashverosh where he came from. So, ask our friend, what's going on over here? Why is Mordechai giving this tip to Achashverosh? And the answer is that Mordechai did not want Achashverosh. He did not want Esther with Achashverosh. He did not want her in the palace. So he was thinking, let's make another beauty pageant. He's going to find another beauty, and he's going to take that and let Esther go back to her regular life. And you can imagine this is what he was davening for. Like Esther didn't want to be with Achashverosh. Esther did not want to be the queen. She did not want to be there. Let her go back home. So he tried to make another, manipulate a scenario that we can make another queen come into play. However, we know that even though he brought all the girls back and he made the other beauty, it still didn't come into his plan wasn't successful. How could Achashverosh still kept Esther as the queen? Now, if you would imagine what would be going through Mordechai's mind. Mordechai really wanted to get Esther home, right? Mordechai was related to Esther. Some say that he was married to Esther. He wanted to get her home. So what is going on over here? Like, what was going on through his mind when all his big plan, it all failed? You would think, okay, Mordechai's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I davened so much that this should go the certain way, that Esther should come home, and now it wasn't successful. Now she's stuck in the palace. Now she's stuck being a wife of a disgusting, King Achashverosh. Like, what's going to be? But what would have happened if Esther would have came home? So where did the salvation come from? How did the entire Jewish nation get saved? That was because Esther was the queen. That was the key of the salvation. And, this is so important. Like, how many times in our life do we give a certain prayer and we think this is going to be the salvation? This is what's going to save me. This is what I need right now. Hashem, please answer me. This is what I need. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't answer. You say, why, Hashem? Like, come on, this is what I needed. This was my salvation. Imagine that was going through Mordechai's head. Mordechai was saying, bring Esther home. This is what we need right now. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no, that's not what you need right now. And we see, fast forward, and it's quite a few years go by, and we see that the fact that Esther was stuck in the palace, that's what saved the entire Jewish nation. That's what saved the entire, and it didn't just save the entire Jewish nation. It saved them physically and spiritually. Kimu v'kiblu, they got the Torah, they were able to get the humility, they were able to bring the power of the Yom Tov on Purim, how we have, there's so much benefit that ended up coming out of it. But this is what happens when sometimes we think that we tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're davening, I say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please answer. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, listen, you gotta wait. There's a bigger plan over here. There's something, you think that this is going to be your salvation, but this is not going to be your salvation. And we see this time and time again. Another example that Rabbi Sachar brings down is of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was born 3 months early, and his mother kept him, and then after 3 months, she couldn't hide him any longer. So with his sister, Moshe Rabbeinu's sister Miriam, they put him in the Nile River, and they let him to just drift off. And Miriam was sitting over there. You could only imagine how much she was davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Please save my baby brother. Save him. Don't let anything bad happen to him. What else are we going to do? We can't keep him over here. He's just drifting. Let somebody find him that will be able to go and raise him and be he'll be at least alive. And who finds him? The last person that you think would be beneficial for Moshe Rabbeinu, that's who finds him. Who? The daughter of Paro. That Paro was the one who's decreed that all the Jewish baby boys should be killed. And who finds the baby boy that Miriam was praying for? None other than the Paro's daughter. It seems like Miriam was just, all her tefillahs just went down the drain. But we know that Paro's daughter, Batya, did not kill Moshe Rabbeinu. She took him out of the water. She brought him into the palace. She hired Moshe's mother to go and nurse Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was raised in the Paro's palace. He was raised for royalty. He was raised for leadership. He ended up going and saving the entire Jewish nation. But when you look at the scenario when Miriam was davening to Moshe HaKadosh Baruch Hu, save my baby brother Moshe Rabbeinu, and who picks him? None other than Batya. Think, oh my gosh, my entire tefillah just went down the drain. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why are you not answering me? And here is a very important factor, that we daven and we daven and we daven, and we think HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not answering us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, just wait. There's no such thing as a tefillah not going answered. Just hold on. There's something bigger going on over here, and what you think is going to be the greatest salvation, that's not the salvation. Just bear with me, and you'll see how this will all turn out for your benefit. There's a story with Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, before he came to America, he applied for a rabbinic position in Europe. And and he said about himself, he says, in all honesty, he says, I applied for this position and somebody else got it. And with all honesty, he says, I was a better candidate for this position than this person. But the other fellow got the job. So Rabbi Yaakov said about himself, he was very depressed about this. He says, what's going to be with me and my family? He says, I wanted to get this position and now I don't got it. So what is he going to do? He couldn't, there was nothing over there. He had to travel to America. He ended up coming to America. He became the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva Torah Vadas. And he became one of the Gedolei Hadar, the biggest rabbis of the generation. What happened to the winning, I'm using air quotes, the winning candidate in that European shtetl, in that European yeshiva? He was unfortunately killed out with the entire city. Now, how much did Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky daven? He says, I want this position is going to be great for me. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no, this position. And what happens when he doesn't get the position? He thinks, okay, what happened to me? He says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why are you not listening to my tefillah? Of course, he didn't say that, but I'm saying, you could think, someone would say, why are you not listening to my tefillah? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, just wait. We have the ability to go on Purim and ask for so much. The problem is that we've asked and asked before, and we think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't answer us. So it lowers our ambition. It lowers our power of tefillah. We think, okay, what's the difference? God doesn't answer me. And the answer is no. Hashem answers you. But sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu says the answer is you gotta wait. You gotta wait, and you gotta see. There is so much power in this power of Purim that we're coming up in just a few days. We have to utilize it. And I'll tell you, it wasn't easy for me to get this share out. And I was going through this topic and I was like, you know what? It's such an important topic. Unfortunately, most of the views online happens, it doesn't happen immediately. It takes a week or two until people start listening to it. It's a shame that people are not going to get to it because Purim is just in a few days. But whoever is able to tap into this, you have to realize how important this class is huge. Forget about the class. This this understanding is huge. Utilize the time of Purim to go and daven. You could achieve so much, especially if you work on your humility and you bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu down. You have the power of tefillah so strong. And I want to add one extra thing on that. Like we have the power of on Purim, we have the power of tefillah, and we should daven for whatever we want, from luxuries to necessities and everything in between. But one request that I have: daven for everything that you want. Just try a little bit, at least a very, very brief. Just daven for someone else for something. Purim has such an important just stop for a second in your tefillahs and Purim, find one other person, whatever, and just daven for another person. Maybe someone needs parnassah, maybe someone needs a child, maybe someone needs shalom bayis, maybe someone needs a shidduch, maybe someone needs health. There are so many things. Just stop for a second. The power of tefillin is huge. You daven for whatever it is that you want, but utilize this important day to daven just for, even if it's just a little bit for someone else. There's such an important power on that even you will gain from that. And of course, we have to say that, daven for whatever it is that you're going to daven for, but don't forget to daven for spirituality as well. The Ben Ish Chai says, and we'll really finish with this. The Ben Ish Chai says, he gives a riddle. He says you have 10 birds on a gate, and you shoot one of them. How many do you have left? Rabbi, I believe, brings down the story. He says that you have 10 birds, you shoot one of them. How many do you have left? You have one. The one that you shot, that's what you have. The other 9 is going to fly away. People run after many things that are of no usage, right? People live a certain amount. They daven for things that there's no real purpose, for it. People chase after physicality. They don't chase after Torah mitzvahs. They remain what? What do you remain with? You remain with the dead bird. That's what you remain with. And, this is something that we coming on Purim. We have the power to daven. And yes, daven for physical, daven for luxuries. But don't forget also to daven a little bit of, or a lot of it on your spirituality, on your spiritual growth, on your spouse, on your friends, on your families, on your children, on your parents, whatever it is. Daven for Klal Yisrael at whole for spiritual growth. And may we really have the power of Purim, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring down His Shechina to Klal Yisrael, and may we be the hosts, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the guest, and we daven, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, may HaKadosh Baruch Hu answer all our tefillahs l'taiva. Mishalas kol lebeinu l'taiva. With that, we're going to say just a kapitel tehillim before we open up the questions, because we do have some questions over here. We'll say a kapitel tehillim like we always do, and again, please say this is for the soldiers, for Klal Yisrael, for Eretz Yisrael, and then we'll open up for questions. As usual, we say Kapitel Kuf Lamed, chapter 130. Shir Amalais, Mima Makim Karasicha Adonai Adonai Shema Bekoili Tiena Aznecha Kashuv Vais Lekol Tachanunai Im Avainas Tish Maria Adonai Mi Yamoid Ki Imcha Aslicha Leman Tivarei Kivisi Adonai Kif So Nafshi Vilidvaraya Chalti Nafshi La Adonai Mishamim La Baiker Shamim La Baiker Yachel Yisrael Al Adonai Ki Ma Adonai Yachesed Varabei Maifedus V'hu Yiftes Yisrael Mikol Avonesav Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael Hanesunim Batzara Uvashivya Ha'imdim Bein Bayam Uvein Bayabasha Hamakayim Yirachim Aleim V'yatzir Mitzara L'Revacha U'Ma'afela Le'Oira U'Mishiba L'Gula Hashta Bagala Bizman Kariv V'Nemar Amen. Okay, we'll open up to questions and then we'll close it. Okay. Can reading Tehillim be counted as praying? Yes. Tehillim is a tefillah. I would recommend to say some kapitel Tehillim. If you don't have time, whatever it is, at least say kapitel chapter 22 and then ask for whatever it is that you want to ask. Oh, okay. When did the class start? The class is supposed to start at 9 o'clock. We started a little bit late today. And just an FYI, if anybody does want to join us, you could either email me at rabbizitron@torah.com to join our WhatsApp group, because there we post the link, we post everything, all the information on the classes. And you could also find the link to join the WhatsApp on the bottom of the YouTube pages, the YouTube, description. Next question. Why is it that every time the non-Jewish throughout the years go against us, the day becomes a holiday? Is there a deep meaning to that? It goes on like a Jewish joke, like you try to kill us, we're going to eat something and we're going to make it into a holiday. But during the times, this Hanukkah was the last one. like chronologically when you're talking about it, but the reason why it's a celebration, that if somebody tries to kill us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu saves us, we have to go and give Shevach and Haidah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's a thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Just like if, let's say, somebody went through something and they were able to get out of it, something difficult, they should also give thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And some people do it on the anniversary of every year. After that situation, they give a Kiddush, whatever it is, to give Shevach and Haidah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, next question. When we fast on taanis, Esther, how does it affect us since it happened thousands of years ago? The power of, so the way that it works in the Jewish calendar is that it's not like something that, there are certain days of the year, the Jewish holidays, the power is the same power as it was back then, meaning that the people think of the calendar as like 2,000 years, but no, like think of it more in a flat plane. Like it's the same time of the year. You have that power that was back then. There's a tremendous power, the same power of Yom Kippur and Sukkot, and that you have the same power back then. Shavuos, we accept the Torah. That's the same power. In heaven, there's no zman, there's no time. So it's the same. It's this that the power of the day is the same power that was back then. Okay, next question. Can you listen to your Kabbalistic series if you're still young? I'm 14 years old because my friend said you can't because it makes you crazy. Is that true? So the way that the plan is for my series is to make it that everybody is able to listen to. However, I am not going to, I'll just be very honest, I am not going to censor things. So it depends on the class, to be honest. And some classes will be more difficult to hear, but it's not going to be from a Kabbalistic sense. That's going to be for everybody, but it's more going to be of like, let's say, a fear sense. When we speak about demons and we speak about angels, these things can be a little bit, scary for some people, and it could affect them. Okay, can I get the class? Will it be on Torah anytime before Purim? Yes, in Meretz Hashem, I'm going to try to get it up as soon as possible. Okay, this class gave me so much chizuk going into Purim. Amazing. Okay, bless you and your Rabbi and your family. Thank you for Rabbi for allowing this to happen. Okay, amen on the beautiful thing. And you should just know that one of the ways that this class was able to happen was because of my wife, my Ishes Chayil. That is that she was like, there was something that I would have had to do during this time of the class. It would have been very difficult, but she took care of that. So that is one of the reasons that this class did happen. So there really is a yashikayach for that. Next question is, what time does the fast start and end in Eastern time in New York? So I'd have to look it up. It happens to be that you could either text it to me. I don't know if I'm able to do it as we speak, but I know I saw this manim fairly recent. The fast begins at 5:35 and ends at 7:43. in Eastern Time, New York. So, really, if it's better, you could end it at 7:51. But again, if you want the answer, you could message me and I will send it to you. That was a quick search, so just like double check that because that was very quick. Okay. Can you please add me? I'm assuming you wanted a WhatsApp group. Just do me a favor, just send me a WhatsApp, and I will blineder add you. Okay, amazing, and the kind words, thank you. Okay, how was Esther allowed to marry Achashverosh if she was already married to Mordechai? Wouldn't be Gilei Arise, which is one of the Gimel Mitzvahs Yarg Bal Yavar. Okay, so there's different opinions if Esther was really married or she was just a niece and Mordechai took her in. There's a question if the reason why it says it was married because they took her for bias. Bias is for bias for the house, which is a long thing in itself. But the simple understanding was that she wasn't married. There is an opinion though that she was married, and how it got around, in that situation. Okay, we have to go a little bit in depth on to answer that regarding that she was never really intimate with, one of the things that she was never intimate with Achashverosh. She always sent a shade to go in except for one time, and that's why the time was when she tried to save the Jews. And the truth is a lot more complex than I would like to get into at this point, but we did speak about it a little bit in the hidden story of Purim, so I would recommend to go to that. Is it okay if I do uninspirational things on the fast of Esther? Again, that's a pretty vague terminology. I'm not sure what that means, but at least utilize that time for davening. Okay, am I not reaching the potential the potential of the day if I don't do Jewish things. Okay, so again, I don't know what that means, Jewish things, but you should utilize the day for tefillah. It's a big day, right? So it's tomorrow. It's a big day for tefillah, and you should utilize that. Whatever you do after that, before that, during that, try to utilize at least the time to do a little bit of an extra daven for everything that you want for your kids or your future kids, for your husband, your future husband, for your family, for your parnassah, for your health. Utilize a day, and you go to Shemona Esrei, you daven Shemona Esrei, daven a little bit extra longer, and Shema Kaleinu, ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for everything. Okay. Last question. Before we close it, is the fast important? My mother just got a surgery and they say they can't fast. Should we listen to the doctor? If it's a sick person and the doctor said you shouldn't fast, then yes, you should not. You should listen to the doctor. You shouldn't fast. You could definitely ask your local Orthodox rabbi just for confirmation, depending on what the doctor said and the reason for that. But generally, yes, a chayla that has a situation that they can't fast, or a pregnant woman, or a nursing woman, or someone who just gave birth, there is leniencies on that. Ask your local Orthodox rabbi. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for coming. Until next week, until next time, may you all have an amazing, successful Purim. May we all be utilized to bring the Shekhinah down through our humility. May we have all our tefillahs answers l'taiva, the entire Klal Yisrael, and may we have tremendous, tremendous brachas that come out of this coming Purim.